Okay, we are going to go through, give every single update that we have. I waited as long as we can do this. I mean, it is past 5 p.m. here on Saturday, so I think we should have damn near every injury update besides the ones that are going to be clear game time decisions. But of course, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on the video. We're going to be streaming this. So this is going to be right off the rip. I'm not going to be answering questions as we go through this because I want to be making sure we're kind of treating this like a video. I mean, it's more so just me being lazy than getting an actual video out for y'all with all the editing. It's just a lot easier for me to go through and stream it. If we're going to be doing, I think this is our third upload of the day, and we are going to have one more tonight when y'all know we're going to go through and tonight answer as many start-sit questions as I possibly can. So I'm not going to be answering any right now. But before we get into it, let's go through and let's give a shout out to the sponsor of the channel. Let's go and check out Underdog Fantasy. On Underdog Fantasy, of course, if y'all go sign up with promo code FLOCK, you know you get that max deposit bonus on your first deposit with promo code FLOCK. They match you dollar for dollar up to $100. I'm kind of upset because now we're seeing that they added a lot more lines since we made our $1,000 bankroll challenge. Nonetheless, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. You can find the link in the live chat, find the link in the description of the video. Make sure you definitely go through that link so you do get that $100 deposit bonus right away. But let's get this going right now. JN coming out here repping some UT. Love to see it. Now let's pull up this list. And let's start it off with the San Francisco 49ers. Now what's kind of funny here is we got some positive news on Jeff Wilson. Now, y'all know Elijah Mitchell. We've been coming out talking about selling Elijah Mitchell for a couple of reasons. A, that we know that his production right now will probably be the best you get all season with how this running back room will shape up near the end of the year. I was expecting Jeff Wilson to come back in a couple of weeks. I don't think we're going to see Wilson now, but he is off the PUP. I think with Jeff Wilson, this is a running back that's going to come back a lot earlier than most people expected him to. And that definitely has to change your outlook on Elijah Mitchell, because the big thing with Elijah Mitchell is we've gone through and we've discussed based on the fact that he has no utilization at all in the receiving game, that you were getting the best case scenario over the past few weeks with Elijah Mitchell. This was the tippity top. This was the best ceiling that you were going to see. If anything changed at all with another running back like Jeff Wilson coming in and just siphoning off, just say 20% of the touches in that backfield, all of a sudden you're going to get Elijah Mitchell in a role that we want nothing to do with as a first and second down grinder that may not even be getting every single one of those carries between the tackles. So yeah, pretty tough spot. I think that we're most likely going to have to go through and just lower our rest of season expectations with Elijah Mitchell. But if you've been watching this channel for a while now, I'm sure you've gone through and you try to sell him where you could. And now in the case of Elijah Mitchell himself, dealing with his own injury, looking like he is going to be a game time decision alongside Deebo Samuel. George Kittle, on the other hand, will be back. And a big thing with Deebo Samuel is we got a lot of questions about this injury through the live streams over the past couple nights. I mean, y'all know we're live streaming every single night. And I will admit that whenever we first got people coming out and saying, okay, Mason, what are we looking at with this Deebo Samuel injury? Is this something we should be concerned with? And we're like, oh no, you see Deebo Samuel in the injury report every single week. I mean, this is kind of what we've come to expect with Deebo Samuel. Yes, this is a wide receiver that's dealt with so many injuries throughout the years, but now I think we're in a spot where you don't necessarily have to have that same level of concern. Well, with Deebo Samuel, I mean, Kyle Shanahan came out and he said this is the worst the calf injury has been up to date. So it may actually be a legitimate question on if he plays on Sunday. My money would be on yes, but still something that we're going to have to continue to monitor. And George Kittle being back, you play George Kittle no matter what. He's a plug and play guy. I know that obviously this is a player that it's frustrating with the injuries that we've dealt with over the past 2 seasons, but when he has been on the field, we have seen that elite level ceiling before, just with the amount of volume that he can get and the yards after the catch ability at the position. Really, nobody else can match. So with George Kittle coming back in, you just go out and you play Kittle. Now, Sam Darnold will be our next player we got to talk about here in this entire Carolina Panthers situation. Of course, we got some great news with Christian McCaffrey. Looks like he will be good to go. And if Christian McCaffrey is indeed 100% healthy, which of course I want to at least see it right before game time. I want to make sure that we have him on the field. I want to make sure that he is active. But if that's the case, you're going through and you are playing Christian McCaffrey. No question about it. This is another instance where we got some questions. Oh, Mason, should we be concerned about playing Christian McCaffrey right away? it's something you don't have to think about. Very few players have shown us that they can go out there and they can right away score 29 points in a given contest. He averaged 29 points per game in 2019 and in 2020. No other player in fantasy football at any position you're looking at can come close to that level of production. Even if you're only getting, say, 75% of Christian McCaffrey in this contest, 75% of Christian McCaffrey is still a running back one in fantasy. So we're playing Christian McCaffrey. Sam Darnold, tough matchup. Going to be going through and avoiding Darnold wherever we can. And you definitely have to lower your expectations with DJ Moore if Sam Darnold does miss. He cleared concussion protocol, but currently dealing with a shoulder injury. Of course, we'll have to go through, monitor that tomorrow. Now, a situation that we have every piece of news with, going to be Dallas. Looks like CeeDee Lamb is indeed good to go this week after a lot of questions about that ankle injury that he suffered on Wednesday. Now, a wide receiver that I was hoping we got back this week, we've been kind of planning on it, Michael Gallup. Now, with Michael Gallup, he is going to officially be out. So this is going to change some of my stances that we had. Y'all know that, over the past few weeks, I was saying that a tight end hate to admit it, but Dalton Schultz, he was an intriguing sell-high candidate for us. And the reasoning for that is we know that once Michael Gallup comes in, he will be getting significantly more targets than what you would expect from just Dalton Schultz himself. He's going to get more targets than what you had with Cedric Wilson. So this team was going to play a little bit more 11 personnel. This team was going to be phasing out Wilson, putting out more Michael Gallup. There's going to be drawing targets away from Dalton Schultz, even if they play a different position. Well, over the past few weeks, great news for Dalton Schultz. Michael Gallup out again. And Blake Jarwin goes on the IR. So fire up Dalton Schultz every single spot that you can. And now let's go over to our Pittsburgh Steelers situation. Ben Roethlisberger looking like he will play on Monday night. And good news for anybody who needs a tight end, Eric Ebron is going to be out this week. So that means you can fire up Pat Freiermuth, just like we said a week ago, and that you could go through, play Pat Freiermuth. 2 weeks ago, we saw that he did have a very nice role in that Pittsburgh Steelers offense. He came out, he had 7 targets. Yet again, he pulled off the 7-target performance this past week, came away with the touchdown as well, just looked dominant. 7 targets, 4 receptions, 44 receiving yards, and the receiving touchdown. If you're playing in Dynasty Fantasy Football, knowing that Eric Ebron won't be in Pittsburgh next year, you have to be so damn excited about what we have with Pat Freiermuth here, because just based on the flashes that he has shown us, not only over the past 2 weeks, but as well as the preseason, very rarely do you get rookie level tight end production like this. This is much better than what you had with someone like Cole Kmet his rookie season. So yeah, I think you have to be really excited about Pat Freiermuth, and you can play him this week, even though it's a tougher matchup against the Chicago Bears. Okay, so now let's go and find our next team, which is going to be Chicago, where with Darnell Mooney, he's going to be questionable with a groin injury. Darnell Mooney, a marginal play to begin with. If you were maybe considering putting him in your flex spot, hell no, you can't do it, because even if there's only a 25% chance that Darnell Mooney misses this game on Monday night, for you to go through and roll the dice for the limited upside that you may have with someone like Darnell Mooney just would make no sense whatsoever. So please don't make that decision. And also a decision that you should have made 2 weeks ago, when we clearly said that was one of the best things that you could do, selling high on Khalil Herbert. This is a running back that definitely looked great in the role that he had in Chicago with no David Montgomery there. But as soon as you're getting David Montgomery back, I can guarantee you with Khalil Herbert, this is not a running back that you can expect to get 75% of the touches in this backfield. At the minimum, I repeat, that David Montgomery will see 60% of the snaps and 60% of the touches in Chicago. Realistically, he's probably going to take more than that away from Herbert. And what does that tell us about Herbert's value? I don't want to say this is a running back that you can go out there and cut, but he is just a handcuff running back at this point. There's no way in hell that you could ever consider playing a committee running back on the Chicago Bears. So with Herbert, I know that David Montgomery isn't officially good to go on Monday night, but it looks like there's a good chance that he is. So if you were planning on playing Khalil Herbert, you just have to go through. You have to find any other option. And with David Montgomery, I wouldn't be playing David Montgomery right away, because we are expecting him to come in and have a role in this offense, but it's not going to be a massive one. Now let's go over to our next team. This will be the Houston Texans. Fire up Tyrod Taylor. fire up Brandon Cooks. We actually just bet the overs on both Tyrod Taylor and Brandon Cooks over there on Underdog Fantasy earlier today in that live stream. I mean, right now they have him at 228 passing yards, 69.5 receiving yards. We talked about Brandon Cooks being on our buy low wide receiver list just 2 or 3 weeks ago with the anticipation that Tyrod Taylor was going to be coming back into this offense. And yeah, Tyrod Taylor, not necessarily a great quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. But if you're going to be comparing him to Davis Mills, remember, I mean, as soon as we had that Tyrod Taylor injury, I came out and I said, fade Brandon Cooks, sell Cooks everywhere you can, because Davis Mills was going to be the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. We had that before Davis Mills took that first start against the Carolina Panthers. And yeah, Brandon Cooks, he kind of disappointed with Mills, but it's not his fault he was put in that position to fail. This Houston Texans team, this Houston Texans offense is still going to be horrible. I want to have that out there. I want to make sure everybody understands that. You cannot play any secondary wide receivers. You cannot play any running back for Houston, even in a great matchup against the Miami Dolphins. But Brandon Cooks himself, that is a player that you can go out there and fire in. Now let's go over to the Kenny Golladay-led wide receiver core in New York, and at least maybe it was a former Kenny Golladay-led wide receiver core, but he is good to go now, and Kadarius Toney should be as well. Sterling Shepard is officially out Sunday. He was listed as out a couple days ago, but nonetheless, I think that this is a spot where you play Kadarius Toney. With Toney, I would like to read the reports Sunday morning as well, seeing if we have anything else coming out about this thumb injury he has. But I would assume, based on Golladay never being a wide receiver that could play on the inside, Golladay being that primary X-alpha wide receiver on the outside, that Kenny Golladay is not going to be taking any of the snaps that Sterling Shepard's leaving behind. I think that's actually going to be going in the direction of Kadarius Toney. So with Kadarius Toney here, I think that we need to be bumping him up. I'm not necessarily saying he's a top 24 wide receiver all of a sudden. I still think we prefer the wide receivers in the range of someone like Jerry Judy. But with Kadarius Toney, it's not the, I'm not even going to say that. It's a pretty bad matchup against the Las Vegas Raiders. It's just that if he is going to get more usage in the slot, I think you can be excited. But one spot you cannot be excited about is going over to Arizona, where we just have no clarity right now. I mean, Kyler Murray could be out. DeAndre Hopkins, currently a game time decision, hasn't practiced at all this week. So a couple things going on here. I'll say, if Kyler Murray does not play, which is entirely possible, you have the general manager coming out saying, hey, we got to be smart with Kyler, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, this is what we talked about when I was betting that Dak Prescott wasn't going to be playing last week, and it was because that the Dallas Cowboys had such a large lead on the rest of that division. I mean, they really had no incentive to go out there and risk any further injury with Dak Prescott. You can say a similar thing here about the franchise quarterback of the future on a damn rookie contract for Kyler Murray on a team that's 7-1. So if Hopkins isn't good to go, if Kyler's 50%, like what's the reasoning for them going out there and rushing back Kyler Murray? I think I would probably prefer to just fade this Arizona Cardinals situation if we could. Now, I know Hopkins leaving this offense would open up a significant amount of targets available to pretty much all the secondary wide receivers here in Christian Kirk and Rondale Moore. AJ Green going to be out as well. That's definitely something we should point out. But for us to have to go through and try to make that guess, it's going to be difficult because the thing is, obviously, with fantasy football, if everybody played at 1 p.m., it'd be nice because we would have all this information going up until we had to make those decisions, and we wouldn't be kind of holding out for bits and pieces here or there. The issue is Arizona's going to be playing against San Francisco, so that game's going to get kicked off at 4:30 Eastern. So if you have a call, say you're thinking, oh my gosh, should I be going Rashad Bateman? Should I be going Rondale Moore? Should I be going Rashad Bateman? Should I be going Christian Kirk? And you don't really know what we're going to get with DeAndre Hopkins or Kyler Murray. You probably just need to be going Rashad Bateman. I know that's just an example, but the player that plays at 1 p.m., because there's a lot that we're not going to know about that situation in Arizona until, it's too late for those 1 p.m. games for you to make your call. Okay, so now our next question, not our next question. That will be in the live stream tonight when we're answering questions. Our next injury report will be coming out of Tennessee, where we have Julio Jones officially off the injury report. So it looks like we're just going back and forth with Julio and A.J. Brown. Julio Jones not necessarily wanting to play him. We did call him a buy low wide receiver recently, just given the fact that if he is coming back from an injury to an offense that doesn't have Derrick Henry, possibly they decide to skew a little bit more pass happy. With Julio Jones, I've been getting told from some people on the live stream, I'm assuming they're playing in like 8-team or 10-team formats because it's ridiculous to even think this. but people are able to pick up Julio Jones off the waiver wire, which is laughable. I'm going to be taking the same approach that we had with Jerry Judy a week ago, though, in that I'm not going to be playing him his first week back, especially with Julio Jones, someone that we have seen definitely at a higher chance to re-aggravate that given injury based on what we have historically had over the past, I want to say almost a decade now with Julio. Now, in the case of A.J. Brown, I wish I could tell y'all something better than this. It looks like he's a game time decision. I personally am not going to be that concerned with A.J. Brown. The report saying whenever he talked to the media on Friday, A.J. Brown himself did not seem that concerned. Now, the issue is with A.J. Brown, going right back to what we were previously discussing, they're going to be playing in Los Angeles. If they're playing in Los Angeles, it's going to be a later game. It's going to be at 8:30. So those games that you're looking at, whether it's the Giants, Raiders, Bills, Jags, Patriots, Panthers, Browns, Bengals, you're not going to have that clarity on this A.J. Brown situation by the time you have to make that call. Now, what really does suck is if we're talking about backup options here, for Tennessee, who the hell you're picking up? I mean, we saw earlier this year, Josh Reynolds didn't really look like he's in it. I don't even know if Josh Reynolds is healthy at this point. I don't think you could pick him up. Is it Nick Westbrook we're picking up? Like, you would have no idea exactly who that other guy is going to be for Tennessee if you kind of have to make that pivot. And for Los Angeles, you know what? It would be a great call for all A.J. Brown owners if you want to kind of take the risk and play A.J. Brown on Sunday night. Just go through, pick up Van Jefferson. If you can find Van Jefferson off the waiver wire. I mean, Van Jefferson, someone that I clowned on coming into the season based on the fact that, I mean, this is a wide receiver drafted in 2020, older than Juju Smith-Schuster. But nonetheless, I mean, at the end of the day, he's seeing the snaps. I mean, he has a way better role in Los Angeles than I initially thought. Tutu Atwell just simply isn't a thing. Deshaun Jackson, obviously not on the team. So I think you could go through, and I think what you could be looking at is most likely a backup plan of Van Jefferson, which wouldn't hurt you too bad. So yeah, I'll plan on playing A.J. Brown. Pick up Van Jefferson as a backup, though. Now, our next report will be coming out of Miami, where Devonte Parker going on the IR. So y'all know we called Jalen Waddle a buy low a month ago with the injury to Devonte Parker, with the injury to Will Fuller. Once we had Devonte Parker coming back this past week against Buffalo, I said, okay, nope, now we're cashing out. We're taking our profits with Jalen Waddle. We got the top end production whenever those wide receivers were missing, but now we're going to get Devonte Parker back in. Devonte Parker will see a large role. He will get targets, and then we're going to get Will Fuller back sooner. Well, yeah, Devonte Parker comes out. He leads the team in receiving against Buffalo. Then all of a sudden he goes right back on the IR. So you know what season it is? It is Jalen Waddle season. It is Mike Gesicki season. Gesicki going to be a top 5 to 6 tight end. Like going over to Underdog Fantasy. A big thing with Underdog Fantasy, of course, go sign up, use promo code FLOCK. But they pay you when you sign up. You get a max deposit bonus. They match you dollar for dollar when you sign up and use promo code FLOCK. And they pay me when you sign up with promo code FLOCK. So what does that tell us here? It tells us that Underdog Fantasy, they are betting that they know more than 90% of the people watching this channel and myself. They know more than me. I will be the first one to admit that. So their opinion matters a ton with what we're going to be looking at. And you actually see that they bumped up Jalen Waddle and Mike Gesicki considerably here. I think the call with Mike Gesicki at the over at 53.5 receiving yards is completely in play here. I took that in a parlay with Tyrod and Brandon Cooks, all three of those overs at the same time. Gesicki, he's a tight end you have to get so damn excited about now if we do not have either Devonte Parker or Will Fuller in this offense. Now, another player that I think we have to get excited about this week is going to be Jerry Judy. I think with Jerry Judy, y'all know this is a wide receiver that I said, okay, we're not playing him a week ago. I mean, we just wanted to kind of wait and feel it out that we could play him the second week. Not a great matchup against the Dallas Cowboys, but what I really like is the fact that Noah Fant is on the COVID list, and this is going to open up a decent amount of targets in Denver. And while Albert O is 100% in play this week, you can go through, you can pick up Albert O. I'm not even going to embarrass myself by attempting to pronounce his last name. Nonetheless, I think that he is not going to be getting every single one of those targets that you actually have from Noah Fant. I think that some of them are going to be siphoned off to the combination of Jerry Judy and Courtland Sutton as well in this offense. So I'm going to prefer to just go and play Jerry Judy where we can, play Courtland Sutton. I mean, I don't necessarily think we'd be playing them over Jalen Waddle now that Waddle's not dealing with Devonte Parker, but nonetheless, they're both going to be fantastic options. Now, our next situation is going to be coming out of Baltimore, where we have Rashad Bateman questionable, Sammy Watkins still questionable. I figured we'd have some clarity with this situation by now. I think this definitely has to make you more excited about what you have with Hollywood Brown. With Hollywood, this has been a wide receiver that's been a top 10 option this year, and I've been talking about why he will regress with the overall regression for this Baltimore Ravens passing offense, given the fact that Lamar Jackson, if you look at his historical rates, he is playing far above them, and I know that you can make the argument that this team is skewing a little bit more pass happy without any healthy running backs in Baltimore, which is a completely fair argument to make, but still, with those historical rates, I will be betting against that Baltimore Ravens passing offense. And also, at the same time, if we were going to get Rashad Bateman, Sammy Watkins, Mark Andrews all healthy together at the same time this week, I was going to be a little bit worried about Hollywood Brown continuing those top 10 numbers. But I think if you miss out on Bateman, if you miss out on Sammy Watkins, or even just one of those wide receivers, Hollywood was a wide receiver that had 14 targets right before the bye week. I think you have to be so damn excited about him. Now, of course, you have Aaron Rodgers out with COVID. Don't be worrying about that situation at all. Nothing really changes with the Rodgers situation. You're playing Devonte Adams. You're playing Aaron Jones. Maybe your expectations slightly change, but we didn't even do an update video on that just because, what, are you going to go bench Devonte Adams now? I guess you could stream Jordan Love if you are desperate for a quarterback right now, especially in a super flex format. You would love to go through and you would love to just go after Jordan Love because, I mean, he has a great matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. But for now, I think that we're probably just going to be maintaining our current stance of what we have with those Green Bay players. And then our last report, we'll give you all Saquon Barkley officially out with ankle injury. Now, with Barkley, makes a lot of sense for him to be out. Keep in mind, this is a player that has a bye week in week 10, and this team has nothing to play for. So why are they going to go? Why are they going to rush Saquon Barkley back? Now, trust me, I'm really hoping we get Barkley back soon. Now, I will say, I'm not expecting his fantasy price to skyrocket anytime soon because he's on the bye this next week. And after that, going up against the toughest run defense in the NFL in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So it's going to be pretty ugly for Saquon Barkley owners. I've been telling people who are currently 6-2, 5-3, or 7-1 to go through and try to trade for Barkley given his production that he could have during the fantasy football playoffs. But at the end of the day, the short-term production is going to be disgusting. So if you're a 2-5 or 2-6 roster, whatever the hell it is, however the math checks out, I definitely think it would be intriguing just to sell Barkley for whatever you could get at this point. And I think that should be it for this live stream. I think we talked about every single situation. If you join the live stream a little bit later on, of course, y'all can go through and rewind. The stream is going to be up as a video a little later on. And also, make sure y'all go join Underdog Fantasy. If you join Underdog Fantasy, promo code FLOCK, they match you dollar for dollar on that first deposit. They have a ton of cool player props that you can check out in damn near every single state. And also, you can hop into some more fantasy drafts that are going to be best ball, so you don't have to submit your starting lineup on a week-to-week basis. They'll have a ton of cool drafts that we're doing on the live streams and everything, so you can hop into draft with me, and you can find that link in the live chat, find it in the description of the video. And yeah, that's all I got for you. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I really hope y'all have a great day, and I will be live streaming again in about 4 hours answering fantasy football questions. Hope to see you then, and I will be live streaming on Sunday morning as well. Hope to see you there if you can't make the stream tonight. Have a great day, everyone, and yeah, that's all I got for y'all.